Good afternoon, everyone. This is Bob Neuhaus. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar. I have overall responsibility for the digital programs that we offer at JD Power in our banking and credit card practice. I'm joined today by Amit Aggarwal. Amit is our resident expert on usability for both mobile and online and works across all industries. Amit and his team lead the analysis and presentation for all of our digital programs. Before we get into the details of the webinar, I wanted to just offer a couple of housekeeping details. One, we will be recording today's session and we'll send it to all of you, and feel free to distribute that to your extended teams. Also, you'll see on the webinar today that there's a handouts tab, and we have descriptive materials about our mobile and online studies, as well as the timetable for our financial studies when these are coming out. Please share your questions today in the chat box. If there are questions that are relevant to the whole audience, we'll address them on the call. If you have specific questions related to your institution, we'll follow up with you separately after the webinar. So today we will be sharing a high-level overview of our mobile and online satisfaction studies that publish on June 18th. We will also be highlighting a new groundbreaking digital benchmarking platform that we are introducing in partnership with Centric Digital in the coming months. It shouldn't be news to anyone on this call that digital channels are transforming the way that consumers interact with their bank. This has been playing out over a number of years. Given the importance of mobile, we launched a mobile app satisfaction study in 2017. The initial focus of our study was on the top 10 banks in the US, top 5 in Canada, and the top 10 credit card issuers. We are now expanding these studies to include what we refer to as the peer group, the top 23 banks, and we've expanded the reach in Canada as well. So moving to the next slide, please. The digital experience is where we see the biggest competitive gaps between banks of different sizes, and wanted to share with you some observations from our recently published retail banking satisfaction study. The usage of mobile at the big banks is significantly higher than what we see for regionals and mid-size. 56% of consumers have now said that they are using mobile in the past 3 months. That drops to 50 with the regional banks, 48% with the mid-sized banks. So there's a growing gap there in how customers are interacting. On the online side, bill pay as a proxy for usage, 51% are using this at big banks, 44% at regionals, and just 36% at the mid-sized banks. So pretty big difference there. What you're looking here on this slide is at the top here, those consumers who are using 3 or more products with the bank. So thinking about how is digital impacting the ability for banks to be successful, the big banks getting 60% of their customers with 3 or more, and dropping down to just 35% when you get down to the mid-size bank. The other thing that you see here based on bank size is a big difference in branch usage. So 62% visited a branch with big banks in the past 3 months, and it goes up as high as 78% when you look at the mid-sized banks. And the bottom line here is that big banks are developing an advantage as it relates to cost of service, more digital usage, less branch usage, and they're also developing an advantage when it comes to revenue with significantly higher sales of 3 or more products. So very important things to look at here. If we can shift to the next slide. Amit, thank you. One of the concepts that we introduced last year was the notion of branch dependence versus digital centricity. So the big challenge that the industry has as it sees consumers shifting to more digital channels is a loss of satisfaction when you move to digital. So branch dependent customers are those who've been in the branch 2 or more times in the past 3 months. Some of those are using limited digital, others are branch only. And you can see as you move from left to right on the bottom chart there that satisfaction falls off, and every bank that we are looking at is experiencing this problem. And when you get to the digital-only customers, which are roughly a third of the U.S. population, the satisfaction falls off to just 793. So this is a big industry issue. So just to summarize, the mid-sized regional banks are struggling, I think, to keep up with the big banks in terms of mobile adoption and the implications that has for the cost of service. But the challenge for the big banks is not seeing the loss of satisfaction when customers make this migration, and designing their digital interactions in such a way that that they can hold that. So I'd like to, at this point, introduce Amit Aggarwal. He will walk you through a high-level overview of our mobile and online studies and our new digital benchmarking platform that we're introducing later this year. Amit?
Thank you, Bob. So we started, as Bob mentioned, in 2017, measuring satisfaction with the app. And many of you on this call have seen that study, have seen us do that analysis, and understand the kind of benefits that come out of it. The baseline of it is being able to show who really is delivering when it comes to user experience through that channel, and who has some room to grow. And so, as Bob mentioned, that is publishing June 18th. We're showing here the 2018 results on the banking side of it. We also, at that time, looked at the enhancements from year to year and the kind of impact that was having on satisfaction. So, taking a lens at the feature level additions, we saw that the U.S. banks were pairing these really aggressive feature additions while they continued to upgrade the interface and the experience that was being delivered through those apps. And when we continued to dive further into the data, we found that satisfaction was greatly impacted, most greatly impacted by customers saying that they felt like they completely understood all the features. And so coming back to this, what are the features? It's not just about the critical path, which is what most of your customers are doing most of the time, but do I actually understand all the things that are available to me? After that, then it comes into more of the things that we would expect, like speed and so on. But kind of continuing to build on that feature theme, we also look at the features, essentially doing an audit of the banks in the study and the pace of feature adoption over time. And so this is not part of the scoring, but it helps us to understand the dynamics of the industry. I know this may be a little bit easier to see when you have it on your own computer. You can zoom in, but there were a lot of banks that had a lot of features in 2018. Highlighted in red are those that we observed being added between midpoint of 2018 and the midpoint of 2019. And so in our view, these impact the results that we'll see in the 2019 mobile app satisfaction study that, again, releases next month. Now, if you take a look at the various columns, all right, everybody's got Face ID, almost. Some released Face ID within a month of the capability being available, and others took over a year. Okay, but that's table stakes now. If you continue to move on, the ability to view statements is something that's becoming much more ubiquitous, with 5 banks adding that, again, between last year and this year, locking the card, and so on. Again, this helps inform what we're going to see in the kind of analysis we're going to do. You can also take a look at the various rows and, for instance, see that Citibank really beefed up its portfolio, while Bank of America pretty much had everything, almost everything already in place, where we caught that they added the ability to view your statements from your mobile app just in that past year. What had been considered advanced in prior years starts to become mainstream. And so right now, doing a mortgage application, doing cardless ATM, linking your investment accounts, not quite bleeding edge, but not quite mainstream yet. But as you can see, with this kind of aggressive pace of updates that we see, we expect that to continue, and we expect these apps to become more and more feature-rich, having a direct impact on user experience and what they expect and the kind of ways in which they interact with you. So the study comes with a bunch of stuff, right? We give you these results, we do the analysis across the industry. What I didn't show here is that we will really hone in on specific areas of improvement for you in that app, in that channel. What's best practice? Why is it best practice? And where are things headed? I just wanted to show some of the new analysis that we've been doing, while stressing the fact that the real bulk of this comes when we have new results to work with. So that's where we started in 2017. J.D. Power's been doing this kind of analysis in other industries, this kind of research for close to 15 years. And so we've been really moving to aggressively update our own portfolio in terms of what we offer. And so last year, we established relationships with a number of partners in order to deliver a broader set of solutions. So I'm not going to talk about ClickBox or Reputation.com, but I'm going to talk about certification, which we launched in 2018 with our partners at Centric Digital. And Bank of America, I'm sure you're all aware, was first to market with that in January 2018. Okay. Moving into 2019, as you can see, we've really continued to expand. And a lot of that focus has been on measuring for the website. So this was based on feedback that we received from our clients that, it's great. The app is the first place you need it to be, but can we get this kind of information for our web properties? And so we're going to be using the same methodology, the same kind of study, using the voice of the customer, having them both recall their experiences on your website, as well as ideally do some level of mystery shop, essentially go back in and reacquaint themselves with the site and the things that it offers. Now, these will be in addition to the app study, and it gives us a pretty broad portfolio. We've also expanded in Canada from bank only to credit card. We launched a web certification product again. Bank of America was the first to market with that in January of this year. Similar kind of methodology where we look at how well does the bank perform in voice of the customer, and does it meet a threshold of best practices that give us confidence that it will be able to continue to deliver a best-in-class experience. And as Bob said, we really wanted to talk about an exciting new capability that is powered by our partners at Centric Digital. So they can take 200 foundational customer experience best practices, and I'll go through those categories in just a moment, and actually do an automated scan, so it's programmatic, and now the field that we're able to look at expands well beyond the banks that you would see here. So in the banking satisfaction, the credit card satisfaction studies, we're able to profile a couple of dozen companies. But when we do this programmatically, it's going to be around 250 that we're able to look at and rank, and not publish rank, but still be able to rank to score and to be able to do some deep dives on what is strong and what needs improvement. Okay, so we've got the VOC studies, again, around the app, around banking, around credit card in Canada, in the US. So these are the profiled issuers and the profiled banks for 4 of those studies, again, US-based. And then when we look to Canada, this is the set that we'll be profiling. Now, with this automated measurement tool, we're able to look at up to 100 site pages per brand. And we plan to do this on a weekly basis, looking at public-facing and logged-in experiences. There is a cadence that comes after this to expand that measurement to social media and the mobile app, to be able to do that again on a programmatic scan basis on a much broader set, but starting with the website. Now, when we talk about those cross-industry best practices, again, there's over 200 of them. And for digestibility, we're showing just the high-level categories. So does the website have specific functionality for SEO? Does it load well? Does it load quickly? And it's not just a measure of the speed with which it loads, but a lot of the factors that predict that and that enable that to be done in a way that contributes to a good user experience. Is it mobile friendly? So a lot of this comes down to the quality of the responsive design. What is the effect of the content? And then getting into navigation, ease of use, and of course, security. Now, some of these overlap with the kinds of things that we would ask in a VOC. Some of these are in addition to, and again, it can be done on a much larger scale with a much greater frequency. And so rather than just tell you about it, we wanted to show you what that dashboard looks like as a way of demonstrating what is actually possible with this kind of a scan. And so hopefully it doesn't lag too much against my speech. Let's see how this goes. So starting out, you have 23 banks that we evaluated in late March. And these are ranked here with Bank of America coming up with the #1 scores of 739. Now, we're highlighting here those 7 categories that I mentioned before, overall score, and the highest category score and subcategory score being highlighted. Now, this is an interactive dashboard. So you're seeing the first set here, which are the leading performers. Bank of America at the top, SunTrust, PNC. Scrolling down, you can see the full list of the 23, and we're going to go specifically into M&T Bank. Okay, so it pulls up 642, but now let's break down those actual metrics. So, for instance, with the mobile metrics, it's not just that you received a certain score. What is the actual measured page size for M&T versus the industry? What is the number of requests that are being made? Well, look at that. M&T's got 223 versus 132 for the industry. Do the same thing for desktop. In this case, not a lot different. Getting into readability, you don't just want to have the simplest content. You want to have the right level of complexity based on syllables, word length, sentence length. And so there's a range there, and there's a few metrics to look at. And then we can also drill down into the score. And those are the 7 categories on the left, and then the number of the subcategories on the right. Now, if we highlight mobile friendly, what you're going to see is that there's multiple subcategories that feed into that. And so in the case of M&T, the responsiveness was pretty good, but there were some issues with the navigation and some of the optimizations that were done. Coming further down the page, you're able to see again the ranking by category, and we're able to filter or sort against these. Now I realize this is moving quickly. We can run through this demo. We can run through a live demo if you wish. Just let us know, and we'd be happy to set that up. And then doing the same thing by subcategory. There's some banks that do really well for responsive design. You can download this data and then choose to manipulate it or work with it however you wish. All right. So again, rankings here. We've gone through some of the original kind of features. And then we do want to provide some tips about what you can do if you're doing poorly in a certain area. So in responsiveness, there were a few suggestions that were given there. And then again, continuing to drill down by subcategory. In this case, sorting by responsiveness. A lot of banks that were doing well, and then slides off. So this is a really quick demo. Again, we're happy to take more time with you individually if you wish. Clearing back, going to the overall, we can do some sorting based on the size of the bank and the products offered. There is, some feedback that we can get from you on that. But now we've gone from the 23 up to 221. And so now it's not just about Bank of America, it's also some of these other performers. So taking a look at Southside Bank, relatively simple web page, which loads very, very quickly, doesn't make a lot of requests, has an appropriate level of readability, and actually scores well on most of the categories and subcategories, but there was some orange there. It's not perfect. And so areas of improvement there. This is on a 1,000-point scale, and 834 is very, very good. In fact, would qualify as excellent, but is still short of actually being perfect. And we've presented the dashboard, but the intention here is that there's a set of data that's being collected on a regular basis, and that can be sliced and diced in multiple ways. With an annual subscription, you get access to that dashboard and can see the data as it's updated. You can also analyze historical data, as we showed before. You can export it. And so that would be on an annual contract. We have the ability to do ad hoc requests or to produce company or market reports as the needs evolve. So that's really what we wanted to make sure that we were communicating, is the set of VOC studies, how that's changing this year in terms of what we're measuring. So those VOC studies, there will be published ranks, and those will be announced again in mid-June. For this digital benchmarking capability, we will be doing that measurement and doing that ranking, but we will not be publishing it in that same way, but we will be making that information available within the industry. And with that, that concludes our prepared materials for this session.
Amit, I'd just like to add something to what Amit said. Some of you who are attending are not among the 23 largest banks in the country, and we will make this available to you, and we will also do the expert review on your mobile and online properties to compare to the best practices that we're seeing across the study. So please reach out to us. We're happy to talk to you about how that would work. And on behalf of Amit and me and the extended JD Power team, thank you very much for your participation. Bianca, did we get any questions today?
Nope.
Okay.
Not that I can see.
So we will send this out to all of you so that you can distribute it to your teams. Please reach out to us if you have any additional questions. We'd be happy to go into detail on the app and the online studies more, and also to go through the digital benchmarking demo in more depth and at a little bit slower speed with you. So thank you all for attending today.
Thank you.